Hello everyone, I'm Rubber Ducky, DivenDerp in game, and this is a tutorial on building smart waypoints. Uh, Now, if you're anything like me, there are a handful of places you visit in the system pretty frequently, and it gets really tedious to open up the menu screen, hunt for one of these guys or a territory, and then go advanced, or not advanced, set destination. Like, it's not bad every once in a while, but when you're doing it all the time, like, it kind of gets tedious. And there's a way you can add it straight to the Lua board so you can have it at your fingers, and that's really kind of nice. And so that's what I'm going to show you how to build, and it just makes your life really, really easy, or easier. So let's go ahead and get started. So advanced, add a Lua script, library, start. Now this is that same script we built in the last video with the breaking. So this is all pure vanilla except for what was in the last video, which is the breaking. We're going to find a new variable, and again, a variable is just a object in memory or something in the code we can define that lets us hold a value that can change. In this case, we're going to define a complex object. So let's do that. We're going to call it points. There we go. And we're going to set these two opening and closing curly braces. And all that does is basically say, okay, hey, we're setting this as an object. So it's going to be a little more complex than just a number or a string. All right. And now we start to define this, and we're going to make it into an array at first. And an array is just a collection of variables defined by an index. And so what that means is this variable here is now going to hold a bunch of variables, which is something a variable can hold other variables. There you go. So we're going to give this one an index of 1, and that means that waypoints position 1 is going to be this, and we're going to set it to another object. But now we're going to define this object a little clearer. So we're going to define this object has a variable named name. Oops, the capital. It doesn't have to be capital, but it's just my preference. You can make it lowercase. Name equals whatever the name of it is. And the next one, we're going to find a second variable for waypoints index 1, which is going to be the position, which we're also going to set to an empty string. And now we're just going to copy and paste this a couple times. There we go. And put index of 2, index of 3. And so now we're saying, okay, waypoints index 1 is equal to this collection of variables. Waypoint index 2 is this collection, and index waypoint 3 is this collection. And we can just keep going and keep adding, and you can have hundreds of these guys. And so long as this index is value here, the 1, 2, 3 is unique, then all should work just hunky-dory. But if you have 1, 1, and 2, then if you do 1 here and then 1 here, this is going to overwrite whatever you had in the first position of 1, because it's just going to write to the same place in memory. And we don't want that. We want each one to be unique. So we need to give them each an individually unique index. All right. Next, we need to actually start defining our points. So the place I visit most commonly is my base, which is Cheshire. Next would be Market 6. And then after that would be my Alioth staging base, which we're just going to call Alioth stage. And now we need to go get the positions. So for that, we just need your classic position string. So world menu, constructs, any of these space constructs are going to do for me. Copy coordinates to clipboard. Again, advanced. Add a Lua script. Bam, that's Cheshire. Apply. Next, we need Market 6, which is System, Alioth, View Planet, points of interest. You see why this is tedious, why you want to automate this. Mark 6. Copy coordinates clipboard. Advanced. Add a Lua script. Library. Start. That's Mark 6. Apply. Next, open. Next one is territories, which is stage. We just want to copy coordinates to clipboard. Advanced. The Lua script. Start. Bam. There you go. And you know what? We're actually going to define one more. So we're just going to add one more to this. So copy and paste that down. We're going to change it to 4. I have another place I visit pretty frequently, which is my sanctuary base, which is called Worcestershire. I don't know how to spell Worcestershire off the top of my head, so I'm just going to call it Wart. And we're going to clean this out. Apply. Open it again. Yep, right there. Copy coordinates clipboard. There. Alright, so now we have our locations. Next, we need to define some variables that'll help us increment over these, over the array of the waypoints here. So first thing we're going to create is a waypoints index. And this is going to hold the current index of the array that we're at. And the next one is going to be waypoints max. And since our current max is 4, we're going to put 4 here. So if you come in through here and you add, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you go all the way to like 10 or 20 or even 100, this needs to be your top index. So if it's 100, then it needs to be 100 here. And what this is going to do is going to prevent us from accidentally throwing an error because we incremented so much we threw ourselves over what was allowed. So what happens is if I have 4 here, but I try and grab waypoints index 5, well, there's nothing in index 5, so it throws an error. We don't want that. So we're defining ourselves a max here. All right. Now we need to define a function. Actually, let's go put it under ternary here. Keep our code clean. Function move waypoint index end. All right. So now we need to define a way to that when we press a button that it moves the index. And because we can't let the index go out of bounds, we need to define logic that keeps the index in bounds. So let's start with that. So we define a function, which again is just code we call by name over and over. So we're going to create an if statement. So if circle braces here, so that we can put logic in here. If the waypoints index is greater, or waypoint index plus 1. So if we add 1 to waypoint index, will it be greater than the waypoint max? Because if we don't want that to be the case, so if we're going to add 1 to it, we don't want it to go over. So if we're about to add 1 that's going to throw us out of index or over index, or we want to call it, just set the index, which is this guy, set that equal to 1. So right back at start. Okay? Else, so if this condition isn't true, so if adding 1 isn't going to throw us out of bounds, then we're going to do waypoint index is equal to waypoint index plus 1. And we'll go ahead and end this if statement. And what this does is say, okay, set waypoints index, its new value, which will be equal to the current value plus 1. So if it's 5, then it'll become 6 over here. So we're just incrementing it. And so this will keep us, excuse me, this will keep us from going out of bounds. All right, now we need a way to set the actual position, so the actual waypoint. For that, we need to go to the codex. So apply, F1 to open a codex, right here, scripting, element API, all the way down here to system. And let's see, set waypoint should be here somewhere. Yeah. So we're gonna copy that. All right. Now that we've defined defined all the variables we should need, we actually need to go to system and set it to a key. For that, we're going to choose action. Oop, there we go. Action start. And remember, action start is when I press a key. Action stop is when you let go of a key. And action loop is when you're holding a key. So we're going to hit action start. We're going to click it here, and it's going to up all different actions we can grab. And these are the actions that are bound to certain buttons. But what they're bound to depends on your key binding. Mine, I believe, my key bindings are vanilla. So assuming yours are too, it should be the same. We're going to pick option 1, which for me is alt 1. And option 2 is alt 2. Option 3 is alt 3. But it depends on your key bindings. And we're going to do the set waypoints string. But keep in mind, since we're calling this from the system, we need to say that's where we're getting it. So system dot set waypoints. So look in system for this method or this function, whatever you want to call it. And a waypoint string we're going to pass in is going to be in library. It's going to be waypoints. So we're going to find waypoints, but not just index 1. We want it to be the current index. So we need to go back to library, start. Yep, there it is. Waypoints index. Oop, there we go. Okay, so it is the waypoints at the current index, and what we want is the POS. So we need to use what's called a dot operator, which lets us access that inner variable, and the inner variable we want is the POS, the position. All right. Now, we also want to increment. We want to increment when they press down Alt 1 to show the waypoint. So let's go back to our library and grab that function we defined. Move waypoint. Control C. System. Library. Oh, no. Confusing myself. Bam. So the first thing that's going to happen when they press Alt 1 is it's going to increment the index. And the second thing that's going to happen is it's going to set that index. Or set that position. Or waypoint. There we go. Use the right verbiage here. And that should be everything we need to do. So let's go ahead and apply. We're going to get in here. Pilot. Alright. And if I hit Alt 1, it should start cycling through. Oop, we got a script error. Let's figure out what's up there. What did I mess up? Ooh, there's a bunch of... okay. So Lua errors can kind of be very unhelpful, but the more you're around them, the more you kind of know what they're talking about. Then expected near waypoints. If you double click on this guy here, it'll highlight the row where it thinks something is wrong or around there. It's not going to be perfect. It's not, or the Lua editor here is not the best, but it works. I forgot to add a then. So if then So notice up here in the turn arrow, we have an if, see, then. We need the same thing here. If, then do this. So let's try that and see if that makes it happy. Get out immediately throwing an error. Alt 1. Oh, and there it is. Okay, so if, Alt 1, Alt 1, Alt 1. There you go. And we're just cycling through them. I'm just pressing Alt 1 over and over, cycle through all the different waypoints. Alright. Now we need to display it on the screen. So let's go ahead and do that. So for that, we're going to go to Edit Lua Script. Update. We're going to copy this line up here, the content for where we got the break. So this is where we're displaying the break to the screen. So Control C, copy that line, scroll all the way back over, paste, and now we're going to start editing in this string. So now remember, the X position is from left to right. So the larger this number is here, the further to the right it goes. We're just going to do 10, which is a teeny tiny bit of padding. 100's a little far down for the Y, and again, Y is top to bottom, so the larger the number is, the further to the bottom you go. We're just going to do 25, just small. The anchor is where that point on the string is, so middle means that the X and the Y are the middle of the string. We don't want middle, we want start, because we're putting it at the left of the screen. Bold, we don't want bolds, we're just going to say normal. Font size, 2.75 is probably a little big, so we're just going to take it down to 2. For a fill, we're going to do a green, and remember, so RGB, red, green, blue. So we're going to 49, 255, 49. That should be a nice neon green. And instead of breaking, we're going to break the string apart. And then we're going to do 2 dots, which says we're concatenating, and we're going to concatenate again. And in the middle here, we're going to go to our library. We're going to grab another waypoint. Control C, System, Update. All right, waypoint 1. But again, we don't want to display waypoint 1. We want to show what's ever currently indexed, which is library start, waypoint index. Oh, confusing myself here. Need to go update. Bam. And we want to grab the variable name at the current at the current index. All right. So now that should display. Now there's already going to be an issue, and I'll show you what it is in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and apply pilot. We shouldn't have any. Oh, we do have an error. What's the error? What is it angry about? Advanced at Lua script. Attempt to index a nil value. Ah. All right. So remember what I said, if you go out of index bounds, it would be kind of angry. Yeah, so we need to do a little bit of logic here. We're going to call our ternary operator. Ternary. I'll try to think what's the best way to handle this. What we could do, actually, is throw it in a function. So instead of doing content, we can go back to library, start, define a function, build waypoint, that's what we'll call it, in, and we're going to return, actually to an if statement, if dang it, if the waypoint's index is greater than 0, then, remember not then the word, then we want to go back and grab update, grab this string here, all the way in, Control X, then we want to return that string. If, however, the index is not set to 0, which is why we're getting that error, by the way. I don't recall if I said that or not. We're getting the error because it's trying to index 0. Well, if it's indexing 0, there's no index at 0, so it throws an error. Else, we're just going to return an empty string in that if statement. So how this is going to work is when we hit build waypoint, it's going to return either our current set index if we have one, or it's going to return an empty string, and we're trying to avoid that error. So we're going to grab this guy we just made. We're going to go back to system. We're going to go back to update, and we're going to concatenate right there. It's going to fill in that string. So let's go ahead, apply. We get rid of all our errors. Looks like it. All right, Alt 1. All right, we're cycling through. But notice how we're not seeing the string displayed, and there's a reason for that. Because notice that now if I hit Control, which remember from our last video turns on breaking, up there it suddenly displays. So now we need to update how our screen logic works. So let's get it out. Now, the other two errors, I knew this one was going to happen, so that one I was prepared for. Edit Lewis script. Library. Oh, actually, we want the update. All right, so the reason it's happening is we're only displaying the content we're creating if is breaking is true. Well, now we're showing more than just is breaking, so we need to change this logic a little bit. So now, instead of ternary is breaking, show all content, we're going to go up here. We're going to say ternary. So we got to spell that right. Start it. Is breaking. Then show the text we show if is breaking. Else, do an empty string. All right. And so what's going to happen now is when it's building all this, if is breaking is true, then it's going to add it to the content. If is breaking is not true, then it's just going to append an empty string, which is basically nothing, and move on. Same with build waypoint. Build waypoint's kind of doing the same thing, where if there's a waypoint set, it'll display it. If it's not going to. All right, which means we can get rid of the ternary operator down here. So let's go ahead and do that. So the only thing being sent to set screen is the content. Should be good. And now everything should work. Fingers crossed. All right. And Cheshire. Market 6. Alley off stage. Wart. All right. And if I hit breaking, breaking shows up. Breaking goes away. Breaking shows up. Breaking goes away. All right. So there you go. Now that's smart waypoints. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. Again, classic YouTube stuff, like, subscribe. But if you really found it helpful, try using my recruiter code, which I'll be thrown down below, so I can get those sweet, sweet recruiter rewards. And thank you guys for watching.